Welcome to the Red Dad Podcast,
where we'll be exploring the trials and triumphs of being a father, men's mental health,
and any other topic that inspires us to be rad.
Through a series of interviews, your host, Jace Kelly, will be discussing and discovering the best ways to become a rad dad. Now your host, Jace.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of the Rad Dad Podcast. I have my good friend Malcolm Stout here. He found out just a few hours ago that he was going to be on, so I really appreciate you coming on.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Is this your first podcast?
Yes, it is, as somebody's actually being interviewed.
Yeah, this is my second. So
I'm excited.
We're pretty much in the same boat, but thanks for being here. So Malcolm and I, it's so weird to call you Malcolm. I know you as Stout.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call you Stout.
That's okay.
Stout and I met in 2010 on an LDS mission. We both served in Puerto Rico. We met there. And then years went by, we came home, started our lives, started our families and all that. And recently he moved back to my hometown with his wife and 3 kids, and we kind of reconnected. And one thing I thought was really cool that I was thinking about is we didn't really know each other on the mission, and we're so different now. I guess you could say we've known each other for a decade.
Yeah.
But we're such a different people now, 10 years later, but our friendship still works. So
yeah.
I thought that was really cool because we've both gone through a lot of change, but here we are on a podcast,
It's kind of interesting.
Who would have thunk that?
Not me.
So do you want to just give me a little rundown of your background as far as career, where you grew up, and then a quick rundown of your family?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, I'm from Washington State, Puyallup, Washington. I actually love it out there. And met my wife. We've been married 8 years now. We met at a church, little get together, and stayed friends. Love her to death. We have 3 beautiful kids, a boy and 2 girls. And yeah, moved down here. Really enjoy this area. Really enjoy the people, the things you can do as a family. But everything is great because of my family, my wife and kids. They make everything. Career-wise, I've done just sales for about 10 years now. Different companies, different products. Really enjoy that in the sense of being able to talk to people and try to help understand what they need, provide a solution. And I can't say it's bad. I really enjoy it a lot. It is a lot of fun. It's very challenging, of course, but I think that's probably what's most important and what I enjoy most. Yeah.
I think you and I may have had this conversation before, but I always say if you can do sales, you'll never be short a job.
Yes.
Because sales can be applied everywhere and anywhere.
That's true.
That's cool that you've been able to develop that skill. And would you say that sales have brought you to Utah?
Yeah. It was. We were in Washington again for a couple years, and my wife and I actually both kind of had a prompting and a feeling that we needed to move, and we came down to Utah in August. Really enjoyed it of last year, and said, "Hey, let's." I felt it. I didn't want to bring it up to her. She actually brought it to me and said, "Hey, we need to move to Utah," and I was like, "Cool." And within 4 weeks, we had a job offer down here. We were getting ready to go, and we moved down in October of last year. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you've lived in several different areas.
Oh yeah.
You like the outdoors, so you're in the right spot in Utah,
yes.
Right? And then, so you have your wife and 3 kids. What ages are your kids?
Yeah, so I have a boy who is 7, just turned 7. We got a girl who's turning 5. Her name's Oakley. And then our little baby Ren, she's a 1.5 years. And it's fun. All different ages, all different personalities. It's a lot of fun every day.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is awesome because I just read a very powerful quote right before you got here, and I want to share with you and then get your thoughts on it.
All right.
Because it kind of shook me to the core. I hope I do it justice. So the quote is, true hell is when the person you are meets the person you could have been.
Yeah. It's so funny you just said that. I was thinking, literally right before we came over here, I was flashing in my head about 3 to 4 people that maybe you know as well that I have had communications with recently. And the one thing that I was thinking about on the way over here, and I don't know why I was thinking it, was, I think what really bugs you and pisses you off is that you're not who you want to be. You're not the person you thought you were going to be when you left the mission. You're not the person you thought you were going to be when you got married. And that's fine, because life never is the way we expect, right? But I love that quote because I think it's spot on. And it does provide I don't want to say fearful, but it does provide a reality that maybe people don't want to accept, right?
Yeah. So my thoughts on it are, I like the quote, but to call it true hell is weird for me, because like my hope is that the person I am and the person I could have been are pretty dang close, right? Like I don't
hope.
I don't feel like I have a fear of missing that target, So yeah, to call it true hell was kind of weird for me, but also it makes you think. It's like, dang, dude, better get your crap together and get going, right?
Right.
So leading into that, what's one of your biggest regrets as a father so far, and what are you gonna do to be better or do better?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think I have a lot of regrets. I do. I think there is my, it could be a relationship with my wife, the way we communicate with each other sometimes, the simple anger that can arise. It could be the discussion with kids and how I talk to my kids in certain situations. I think, even saying this, probably my biggest regret is understanding the importance of tone, the importance of relating to others, right? Not necessarily only coming down to their level, but respecting them, no matter their age, no matter their situation. And that's something I love my wife. She reminds me of constantly with her. It's something I've been trying to work on. But that's probably my biggest regret, because actions mean a lot, but words last. We can easily think of song lyrics, or we can think of things that were said or we overheard. And I think that's probably the most regrettable, but I know the thing I can work on. What do I say? How do I say it? And what's really my intent behind saying it?
Yeah. One thing I've noticed hanging out with you around your kids and stuff is that you communicate with each of your kids very differently. I feel like you read their emotions, and they obviously receive that different communication properly,
Yeah.
So do you want to, was that a learning experience, or was that like you just had that as a dad instinct?
Oh yeah, this is I think I got it. At least on that, my wife sat me down one time and just shared years ago. She said, "Hey, I receive things differently when you say things. And so you might say what needs to happen, but if you say it very curt, if you say it just direct, it affects me. I need you to work on that." And of course I say, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then she has to explain it to me again. And we have the conversation again, and she said the same with the kids. And so I try to do that. It is hard. I'm not telling you it's easy, and I appreciate you saying that, because I still think that's something I try to work on. But yeah, each kid, when I say each kid is so different personalities, it's a beautiful thing, because everybody is created uniquely and differently, and you have to respect that.
Yeah.
You have to. So
yeah, and on top of that, the other thing I've noticed with my boy is that it really surprised me at first. He's 2.5 years old, and I feel like he absorbs the emotions of his parents. So
really,
yeah, when Katie and I are angry inside, or like he won't go to sleep, and I'm not speaking angry, but I feel angry, it's like 10 times worse to get him to bed, So do you feel like your kids observe and maybe absorb your emotions?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. I get what you're saying. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's so fantastic, the empathy of kids, and even hearing about your kid. I think your kid's awesome, and I can see that, and yeah, when I say it sucks, it's because I feel that kids are so much more empathetic than we are as adults.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
And that feeling, that approach can hold on. And it's something you have to battle with too, right? How do you respond? How do you talk to them? How do you approach it correctly for them?
Well, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out.
Me too.
So, if there's one lesson that your kids could learn, they're at your funeral and they're up there talking, what's the one lesson that you would want them to learn from you?
I would hope that my kids can understand the importance of agency and the importance of love, meaning that every single person has a right to choose as they would like to choose. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them. That doesn't mean you have to support them. On the flip, you can support, you can agree, that's great, but you have to be willing to accept that everybody's unique and you can still love them. I think in our society, we struggle with the concept of love versus acceptance. I think people say, if you love me, you'll accept everything I do. If you don't accept everything I do, you don't love me, which isn't true. And I would hope my kids can grasp that they can be themselves. They can love others who might be different versus their beliefs, still be respectful to them, and allow them to realize, hey, this is your life. This is not mine to dictate upon you, and still share that respect for others. I'd hope they learn that, if anything.
That's awesome. I love that. Up until my adulthood, like a few years into my adulthood, I would let other people affect my happiness, whether it be their opinion or their actions or their attitude, whatever. I would let it affect my happiness, not like in a huge way, but to the point where it's like I had to tell myself a few years ago. I remember a specific day. I was like, hold up, dude. Like, why are you letting this even affect you? Mm-hmm. So to be able to teach your kids that, and also I think that leads into them just being happy for themselves,
right?
Because they know they have their agency, they know they're loved. They can find happiness within themselves and not really search for it elsewhere.
I agree.
Or in other people.
I agree. I don't know. I don't know if it's the influx, and maybe I don't know how you feel about this either. If it's the influx of social media, those pressures that come with things that have made everybody, not just teens but adults as well, kind of lose that sense of security and lull into a falsehood and a narrative that you need so much likes and appreciations from others to be validated in life. Like, you don't.
Yeah. I go back and forth, and it's really hard to think about raising kids in today's world.
Yeah.
But I always fall back on that, my confidence in myself and my wife. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that we can raise strong, good people. So it doesn't overpower to the point where we're just not going to have kids.
Yeah.
The world needs better parents and better kids to make it a better place. And if that's my job, then so be it.
You mind if I ask you, what does strong, good children mean for you guys?
Well, strong being that they can stand their ground with all the craziness, all the bad influence in the world. They can stand their ground and be a light in the life of other people.
Yeah.
So that's something that Katie and I strive to do, and we pray for daily, and just hopefully we can teach them to withstand the winds of the world and be strong and be a light in other people's lives. So I'm gonna switch gears a little. Tell me about your upbringing and maybe a favorite childhood memory.
Okay. All right. So I grew up second oldest, family of 6. So I have a older sister, twin sisters after me, 2 younger brothers. And we grew up in a very loud household. Let's just say that. It was busy. It was loud, constant activities, constant bickerings, constant enjoyment. It was a lot of fun, a lot of opportunities as well for growth, personally, intellectually. But it was a lot of fun. I have absolute love and respect for my siblings and for my parents for the work they did. My mom was really the one at home taking care of us, doing a lot of stuff. My dad, he's a grinder, man. I don't remember a lot of times. He's a doctor, but he's also in the Air Force, and now he's in the Air Force Reserves. And he's still in the Air Force Reserves, and there's a lot of times even growing up, and being in church and accepting different callings and responsibilities, we didn't see him a whole lot, but he was just a hard worker.
Yeah.
If I could say a good memory or a fun memory that we had, it was a prank I played on my family. So one time I was out, you can't see it, but I do like to run. I do like working out. And I went on a run one time and I saw my mom's car, and my sisters were inside and she wasn't there. And I asked them where they were going, and they were like, "Oh, I think we're going to get food." And I was like, "Well, I want to get some food," but my mom specifically didn't go until I was gone from the house so that she could take them without having to pay for me. So I hopped in the trunk of the car and I asked them, "You guys need to start talking about where you're going to go eat all this stuff. Don't say I'm here." And so she starts talking about where they're going to get food, and they're naming all these places, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Oh, I'd like to get some food too." And we're in the middle of the road, and my mom slams on the brakes and almost hits two cars and pulls over, and she's just yelling. She's freaking out. Like, goddamn, my siblings are laughing. And she's like, "All right, get out of the car, run home." I was like, "I want to get some food." She's like, I'm not taking you to get food."
So she got mad.
Yeah. So I hopped out and I had to go home, and they went and got food. I just thought it was so funny, just randomly seeing them there going in. And I was like, "Yeah, I either get food or I don't. That's okay." But I knew it was gonna be fun nonetheless. I like pranks and stuff. A lot of stories lead to that. Lead to just poking fun, having fun.
So can you just give a quick breakdown of what heritage you come from? Because when I met your dad, I was surprised.
Were
right?
you?
He doesn't look like you, right?
No.
So give us a breakdown, because you're saying you grew up in a loud, lively household, and
Yeah.
I know where your mom's from,
Yeah.
so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So my mom is full-blooded Puerto Rican, and my dad is Scottish and Irish. And so, yeah, it was the same. I can't tell you how many times in high school people would see me. So I used to have really, really long hair, really long, like Troy Polamalu style. And people would see me and my dad, and they would ask me if I was adopted. They'd ask me if I was like a foreign exchange from the Samoan Islands or something like that. And they took me in and were taking care of me before they saw my mom. But it was the same. My grandpa, he's 5'1" or 5'2", very small, short, white guy. And I remember he was talking to some people, and they thought the same. Like, it was a cool, "Oh, you're adopting the young brown kid at church, being nice, like, this is great. You're gonna maybe pay for some of his school, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, this is legit, my grandson." And people were just baffled by it. But yeah, it's that's where the loudness comes on my mom's side. But my dad, bless his heart, I don't look like him at all, but maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. He's a good-looking guy, so
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
So I think I've only met your mom once, but she like came up and gave me a hug and was speaking Spanish, and I was like, I had to get in Spanish
Comes at you
mode.
fast.
Yeah. But I could tell she's just awesome.
Yeah.
Like just a loving person. So just picturing that story that you shared, it's hilarious, because I can imagine the reaction. I'm surprised you didn't get hit or physically hurt.
It got to it past that time. I think it was my senior year. I think the hitting, the slaps and the shoes and all that stuff finally stopped. But it took a bit. Yeah.
Cool. So, what do you want to give me a few? I know you're like a deep thinker, because we've had a few really good conversations. Do you want to just take me through, like, what you've pulled from fatherhood, like the biggest lessons you pulled from fatherhood that were unexpected. Like, I don't want to hear like, oh, I learned to love, or I learned to be patient. I want to know, like, what hit you unexpectedly that you've learned from fatherhood?
Yeah. I believe, religious or not, there is a law that is important, and a law meaning that everybody's going to have to go through it. And it's a law of sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice something in your life. And I don't think we understand when it comes to fatherhood, I didn't understand the sacrifice my wife is taking by bearing these children, what she's taking in a sacrifice of potential career, what she's taking in a sacrifice of our relationship, as well as the relationship she has with her friends, with her family. And the same in fatherhood. You don't understand the sacrifice you get being a father. There's sometimes I don't get to watch the games like I want to watch.
Yeah.
Right? I don't get to. It doesn't matter. It's great my kid is loving sports now, but that doesn't mean we get to just sit and watch the games. Right?
Yeah.
I don't get to just sit back and relax like you think you want to all the time. I don't get to simply just state what I feel and expect that to be it, because you have to have those conversations. And so I think the concept of sacrifice is very vital. And I think that's the one biggest thing I'm learning and still wasn't expecting, is how much you really do sacrifice. It's not just these massive things. There's the little things in life. It's getting up a little bit earlier to have to go work out, right? It's spending extra time at the office to maybe get some free time to go watch ballet that your daughter might chicken out on, but you don't know, and you already paid X amount of dollars for it for her to be happy.
Yeah.
You know? So it's fun though. It is. But I just wasn't expecting how in depth it could go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's such a great answer, and it's very similar to my answer. What I would say. There was a little bit of a social trend going around that you may not have seen because you're not on social media a whole lot, but this lady lightheartedly, films a TikTok, and she's like, "Men, why do you always pull up in the driveway and you just sit there for a few minutes?" And then a bunch of men answered, and it was a lot of your answer. It's like either, funny, like, I just need some freaking peace and quiet before I go in the house.
Yeah.
But sometimes it was like, these men express all these negative thoughts and self-doubts. Like, sitting in that driveway is the only time I have alone to really work through that stuff.
It's that, and sorry to cut you off there. I think that's such a powerful point. I had the last 2 weeks, there have been times where I'm sitting in the driveway, it's going through kind of the same things thinking, and I look up and my wife's just standing there. And I'm like, bro, come on, and it's not an open the door, I'm happy all of a sudden, because I'm in a deep thought, I'm just looking up, I was like, okay, but what's interesting is that she shared with me the other day, she's like, I don't get a break. I don't get a break from these kids. So I see you and I get all excited, and then you're just like, bro. And I was like, yeah, but I don't get a break either. So it's hard. It is not just for me, for everybody. It's a difficult thing to try to process, because we just don't feel there's enough time to pass everything and do everything we need to do. And we need to maybe refocus on time management in our lives. But I respect that. I didn't know, like you said, I didn't know that was going on, but that is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, yeah, when a trend like that happens and then you see all the videos and you're like, wait, I do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, I guess, to see that, there's a lot of fathers out there going through it. So that's interesting. Yeah, your wife brought up that point. I think every wife has probably brought up that point to their husband, that, look, I don't get time to me either.
Right.
So it's obviously important that you guys make time for each other. I'm a big believer in a marriage that both spouses have interests together and separate interests.
Okay.
So just to further explain, Katie and I have our love of travel and going and trying new places to eat and stuff. But then I have my interests of like playing pickleball at night or doing a podcast or pursuing whatever interests I have.
Yeah.
And at first it was like, we first got married and like I was into longboarding and Katie was like, oh, I need to get a longboard so we can do it together.
Yeah.
But we, throughout the years we've realized, no, it's good that I go off and do things on my own and that she can do the same. Mm-hmm. So it is a trade. You take the kids for an evening and let her go out. She does the same for you. Like you're here, you have 3 kids and it's, 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
And she lets you be here.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that about your wife and I admire that anytime I see that.
She's awesome. I agree. I love that point you bring up, and it's cool you shared kind of those differences you guys have, and as you understand those more. And I think what's funny is I think we're just moving down here has sort of allowed us to dive more into our differences, right, and appreciate those more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a father, what doubts have arisen in your life?
Oh, bro, tons. You wonder, doubt wise for me, I think selfishly of myself, wondering, am I really raising my kids right? Am I sharing the things that are actually important, or am I only sharing what I care about? Am I focusing too much on issues that really aren't that important, or not focusing enough on the things that are?
Yeah.
How am I doing? For us and our family, a big thing that comes to our mind is spiritually. How are we doing with our kids? Are they sort of understanding what we believe and what we've learned? And again, it's the same point of agency and not come across, but while they're here, we want to help them understand and let them choose still. And it's the same though on the kids, right? The doubts I have about them is, what are they going to be when they grow up? I don't want to force them in a career, but if I can help them understand on their likes, how can we do that?
Yeah.
Big doubts on my relationship. Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good father and actually providing adequately enough for my wife that she wants to stay? Am I doing enough, not just for my immediate family, but her family as well, and trying to just do what I can, there's doubts constantly come in my mind.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. I could basically do some video editing and take everything you just said and play it all over each other and put a little echo behind it and make it sound like it's in your head.
Yeah.
Because those doubts are constantly running in your head.
Right.
And there's so many distractions and these doubts start to weigh on you as a father if you feel the pressure to be a good father. Mm-hmm. Right. So, that's
a good point, man.
Yeah. Cause just to kind of rewind back to, you were talking about how you don't have time for yourself, or, you get home and there's always something to do with the kids. There's games to take them to, there's homework and all that stuff. Yeah. It's because you're trying to be a good father, right? Cause you could go home, you could work your 9 to 5 and you go home and crack open a beer and watch TV.
Right.
And there are a lot of dads that do that. Personally, I don't think that is the right way to approach fatherhood. I take fatherhood very seriously, and I can tell you do the same, just because of the comments you made. So, I picture it like this. If you had a water hose and you drilled 20 different holes in it, you can only put out so many holes. You only have 10 fingers, right? Right. So when doubts come up for me or stuff that we need to work on as a family, I'm plugging up those holes, but then it exposes other holes. So I go and I plug those. Okay. And it's like my time can't get spread quite evenly. Okay. So I think where we need to focus as men and as fathers is, are you making the effort? Can you look yourself in the mirror every evening and say, I tried my best? Yeah.
Have you heard this? I think you've probably heard this. I would assume you have. If you're juggling, you have 4 glass balls and 1 rubber ball, and the glass balls are I ruined it right there. But if you had five balls, right? 4 glass, 1 rubber. You have family, you have friends, you have spirituality, you have your mental approach, and then you had your career. Okay. and you have to juggle all those balls. Which one do you think is rubber and which one's glass?
Repeat them one more time.
So you have family,
Okay.
friends, spirituality, your mentality, and your career.
I would have to say the rubber one. Or are you saying which ones are glass?
Yeah. You can say which one's a rubber one, too.
I'd say the rubber one would be my mental health.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Because I'm assuming you're going to say that's the one I would drop.
actually, the rubber one is your career. Everything else that's glass, once it goes down, might not shatter, right? But you're going to get a crack in it. It's going to get a different shape. Mm-hmm. That's going to change the way you juggle. That's going to change the approach of things. You get enough hits on it, it will shatter and it'll be gone, right? But what's funny about the career and a job is you can always go out and find work. Same thing you said about doing sales or other things. Just so you know, I love your approach to life, your entrepreneurial spirit. And it's the same with other people. You want to go out, you want to be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
You say you want to go big, fantastic, but you will work. You're going to do what you can. And that's that rubber ball continually coming back up. But those other things, once they drop or you stop juggling those and you lose focus on them, you never know what state they're going to be in again when you have to juggle them. And I remember hearing that, and I was just kind of, I guess you can say, blown away, but it really made me kind of reconsider a lot of things and where am I really putting my importance, right? I don't want to have to mess up continually on those things and look back, right?
I feel like I gave the wrong answer. So, you've I guess I could say you've job hopped a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts or maybe your message on dads that feel stuck in their job or their career and they're scared to move because that would it's not a safe move and it may, be detrimental to their family. Mm-hmm. So I just want to get your thoughts on that and maybe some advice for those dads that feel stuck.
Sure. Caveat again, right? No expert on it. I have done that. And I would take this advice for anybody that is listening as you'd like. Tomorrow, factually, is not guaranteed for anybody. The concept of death is always there. And the approach that we have in living and trying to fulfill something, that same quote you started with the beginning, when you look back at your life, when you see that person, try not to limit yourself too much. There's always going to be fear. There's going to be those doubts that come up. It might even be a fear of moving to a different career in a whole new field you've always wanted to do or never thought about doing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Go a month, even if you fail, that's all right. There's so many, in my mind, and what maybe the media and what people don't focus on. When we talked about the great, potential recessions, potential things coming up, factually I understand that. And it can be scary, but if you'd like to make a shift and a change, just go for it. Take that leap of faith, see what happens. You might fail, right? That's okay. It might only be a 2-week thing. I remember talking to one guy that I work with, and he said, I went to this one job. I lasted 2 whole weeks. And I realized it was not for me. Not me. It was another guy.
Okay.
He said, I lasted 2 whole weeks and I realized it was not for me. And I immediately had to go look for another job. But I knew it. I recognized it. And I said that. And I was like, hey, that's fantastic. I've been in situations like that where it hasn't been 2 weeks. Maybe it's been a month. Maybe it's been a year. And I'm just like, this is not the right situation. And that's all right. You move on. But don't. Just remember what you learned there and realize, again, like Vince Lombardi says, the things you can control are your efforts, your attitude, and your tone. If you can master those 3 things, I think you can be successful in whatever you want to do. Does that kind of answer what you're looking for?
Yeah, it does. I think people in our age group are more willing to take that risk. But one thing I've noticed with fatherhood is, I guess from my perspective, is your failures can be deeper because you now have your wife and kids. Mm-hmm. So more it's impactful. Not like you can fail and bounce right back up like you're 21 years old, you know, with no one else relying on you.
I agree.
The mirror to that the upside to that is that you have a bigger reason to wake up every morning than that 21-year-old kid.
Yep.
You know, Lincoln, my boy, has given me a bigger picture and a bigger reason to wake up and do my best and try harder every day. So, yeah, the upside is obviously quite a bit larger.
Could be.
So, you and I share a common interest. We were both foodies.
Oh, yeah.
Ever since living in Utah, top 2 recommendations.
Man. Okay. Number 1, Wing Shack. Okay.
Rocky Mountain
Wing Shack.
In American Fork.
American Fork.
Okay.
Those are the best wings I've ever had. I go once a week. Okay? That's the thing about it. It's bad. But me and my coworkers, once a week we're in there getting wings.
Okay.
Beautiful lunch special. Anybody wants to go, you got to do it.
Oh, I've been there.
Okay? It's fantastic.
That's in my top 3. So.
Yeah, it is. It's so good. Shoot, man. I don't know what another one. If we're doing top 2,
It might not matter because number 1 is that good.
It is. It really is. And this is the great thing about Utah specifically. There are, and maybe it's because of the people that live here, so many different cultures with school, with a religion that's here. They bring so much to offer this great state. And when it comes to food, man, like the different cuisines and restaurants and food trucks and little mom and pop setups, like you literally, there's a lot of times you cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awesome. It's so good.
I would say the food scene has gotten a lot better in the last decade here in Utah.
Really?
It hasn't always been that way. But like you said, the mom and pop shops are coming back. The food trucks are exploding, especially here in Utah County. So
What's your top 3?
Top 3 places to
Yeah.
eat? I'm not going to rank them, but I'll just tell you 3.
Okay. All right.
And this will change in 2 months.
Okay.
But one of them would be Rocky Mountain Wing Shack for sure.
Okay.
And you got to try the garlic parm.
Oh, yes.
You know.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Number 2, I'm really digging Station 22 in Provo on Center Street.
What is that?
So it's like they brew their own homemade root beer, and then they have like kind of fusion meals. Like they serve like chicken and waffles. They have a shredded pork. They have a shredded pork sandwich with fried green apples in it. Incredible fries.
Fried green apples.
Yeah. So a little bit different.
Interesting.
But it's like cafe setting. It's a nice date night right across from the Provo Temple. So,
Okay.
Number 3, I'm just going to throw this in there because I've ate there so much, is Zao Cafe.
Zao Cafe. Where's that?
We just got a new location in Spanish Fork.
Okay.
It's healthy rice and noodle bowls. So if you're going for a healthy option.
I'll try that out.
Yeah.
Zao Cafe.
Zao.
Okay.
So.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. I just have one more question that I want you to address the audience, and that is one piece of advice you would give to a soon-to-be father.
Okay. One piece of advice. I would say, you're going to look here and here.
Right there.
Okay.
Look right at him.
I would say, if I can give advice on fatherhood, it is fantastic. It's a part of why I feel we're here on the earth, is to be fathers, is to have children. I understand there might be some situations where people can't naturally give birth and there's adoption. But fatherhood is such a fantastic journey, and it is difficult. It will be the hardest thing you'll do in your life, but to look at your wife at the end and the beginning of every day, when and if you have children, to look at them in their faces, the end and the beginning of every day, it truly is a blessing and a positive light in such dark times that we have right now, and appreciate them and realize that they are your biggest fans and supporters. You're not alone as a father at all.
That's awesome. That's exactly what a rad dad would say. So
Did it.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for your insights. I truly value your opinion. I appreciate you being on, and that's all. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.